Start with Manchester United, who begin their Premier League campaign against Fulham tomorrow, and you can see it live on Sky Sports. We heard from Erik Ten Hag earlier. Let's hear from our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy, right now. Melissa, before we get into Ten Hag not being ready, I hope you are, but let's talk about how active United have been in the transfer market. We've seen Matthias de Ligt come in. We've seen Nusa Mazraoui come in. Are we expecting debuts?
Well, the pair got their first taste of the trademark Manchester weather today, actually. And Erik Ten Hag has said they will be in the squad. But are they ready to start? Now, De Ligt and Mazraoui have been part of every training session since they arrived, so fitness is not the issue, but it's how sharp they are in relation to the other options that could make that first 11, and whether they've actually been able to, in what has been a very short period, build up any combination play, chemistry with their teammates, all of these which are quite vital to getting off to a great start in the Premier League. Now, the benefit for both players is that they're very familiar with what Ten Hag requires, both in and out of possession. They're both also very progressive players, so they do suit him. Could that be worth the risk? Where Mazraoui will feature, that's the interesting bit, because while he excels at right back, he's two-footed and very, very comfortable filling out on the left, which will be essential given Luke Shaw's calf injury. Now, Ten Hag doesn't want to rush Luke Shaw back, and he's got quite a few solutions there. So he's explained to us just what he can tinker with there in order to give Shaw the time to recover.
We're looking forward, of course. Luke Shaw, a very important player for our team. So yeah, he's massive important, so we want to get him back as soon as possible, but we can't force this process. We can sort problems over the left side. With, for instance, Licia Martinez, also Diogo Dalot is capable to play there. But with Mazraoui, we have an additional one who can fill in that position as long as Luke Shaw and Tyrone Malacia are not available.
Now, Melissa, it's no surprise that the Premier League starts tomorrow. We've all known that, but Ten Hag has said he's not ready. Should Manchester United fans be concerned about that?
No, I think it's quite honest and actually quite normal. A lot of managers across the Premier League will be feeling like they're not ready for their perfect starting lineup or to enact their vision in just the way they want to, because it's not been an ideal preseason given the tournament football, which means managers haven't had months and weeks to work with their full complement of players. They've had pretty much shy of 10 days to get back just to the training pitches, work on drills. Obviously, two signings that we mentioned coming in right on the eve of the season, so it doesn't give them enough time to acclimatize and be ready to start as strong as they want. United have also had major injury blows to Lenny Yoro and Rasmus Højlund, which has also knocked them back. Luke Shaw, as we mentioned as well, unavailable. So there's quite a few problems that need solving, which is not ideal. But like Erik Ten Hag was explaining to us, all clubs will be in this position. So it's not about hiding. It's not about finding excuses. You still have principles that you need to adhere to. You still know the rules out of possession, in possession. And you still know that if you pull on that shirt, you have to show fight, determination, effort. So none of those things change. He does feel that it will take a while for United to hit top stride and perhaps play the style of football, that aggressive, really progressive, where they try to enforce themselves both physically and technically on the opposition. It might take a while to see that, but at the very least, he still expects United to start quite strongly. You can catch a full interview with Erik Ten Hag tomorrow morning running through Sky Sports, and we'll also be live at Old Trafford building up to the opener of another season. Yay!
Yay, indeed. Bring it on. Melissa, live from Manchester United's training ground. Thank you very much.
The Premier League is back tomorrow, and ahead of the new season, Sky Sports pundits Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher have been making their predictions. Mikel Arteta's Arsenal pushed Manchester City close for the title in the last 2 campaigns, and Neville thinks this year they'll finally go one better.
I think Arsenal, I went Arsenal last year. I think that they're on that sort of, if you like, upward trajectory, and I think they're getting better every single year. Obviously, they're up against one of the great sides that this league has ever produced in Manchester City and Pep Guardiola, so it's always going to be tough. But I feel like they've got stability with the manager, they've got stability in the team, they're getting better. So I think I'm going to say it again, you can't write off Manchester City, of course you can't, but I'm going to say Arsenal again for this season, just because I feel like they're getting they were so close last year. I feel like they might be able just to go that extra step this time.
Well, Jamie Carragher, would you believe it, disagrees. He thinks it's hard to look past Pep Guardiola's side, who are aiming for a record 5th straight Premier League title.
Pep Guardiola, no matter what league he's in, more often than not, he wins the league title. And I think the only people to stop him, I think, was Jose Mourinho when he was at Real Madrid one season, and Jurgen Klopp a few seasons ago in the Premier League. So that shows how tough it is. It's been really tough for Arsenal and tough on them, really, how close they've come in the last couple of seasons. But I know myself from my own experience with my team, Liverpool, it's a very difficult nut to crack as Manchester City. So I think most neutrals would hope that there's a different winner, and I'd probably say the same, because you don't want the same team winning year after year. But you have to take your hat off to Manchester City. The job Pep Guardiola's done on the team that they've got, they're still the team to beat.
Well, Neville is confident that Manchester United are moving in the right direction after a busy summer transfer window. He thinks the additions of Matthias de Ligt and Nusret Mazraoui could deliver the defensive reinforcement that Erik ten Hag needs.
No doubt, if he has a really poor start and the results are the same as last year, then he'll come under massive pressure very quickly. But I'm actually quietly optimistic about Manchester United. I just think that the signings that they're bringing in are of a different profile than they have in the past, and they won't make, the group of people now are at the club, from owner down to sporting director, technical director, CEO, will not make the same mistakes that Manchester United have made in the last 3 or 4 seasons, where they have wasted money. And they've made signings that you knew at the time were going to bring pressure to them at some point. I think the profile of the players that they're bringing in is the right profile. They need a younger, quicker, more athletic, energetic football team. And I think that's what you're going to see from Manchester United this year. There's still an imbalance in some parts of the team that need to get better. Worries about, obviously, Luke Shaw, who's now injured at left-back, and who's going to play there, potentially up front if Højlund does continue with his injury. Obviously, United are short up there. But just generally, I think that they're in a better situation than they were last year.
Yeah, not long to go now. The Premier League season begins tomorrow night live on Sky Sports as Manchester United host Fulham in the Friday night football.
Yes, so many words for you to describe him, but loved for sure by the Man United fans. They'll be delighted about a new contract. How influential has he been for them, Nick?
Oh, he's been huge, hasn't he? I mean, you heard the testimonies of his teammates, of his manager there. I mean, he is a player who tends to come under scrutiny, doesn't he, occasionally? But I mean, these numbers, you can't argue with these. These really do highlight his influence and put some context to what he has done since his arrival in the Premier League in January 2020. So 46 Premier League goals, that puts him in the top 10. He's got 34 assists, the 3rd highest total. Shots here, 397, 3rd highest. And then we see these creative numbers here, chances created. He's top of the pile there, 417 chances created, 88 big chances created, again top of the pile. This puts him ahead of Kevin De Bruyne, ahead of Martin Odegaard. And then we see as well his final 3rd passes, again top of the pile, and off the ball as well. He is important, possession 1 in the attacking 3rd. 120 times he's done that. That's the 2nd highest total in the Premier League. So yeah, these numbers really do highlight his importance to Man United and his quality.
I think when you're thinking of criticising, it's like, just remember this,
Exactly,
remember what he gives. United open the Premier League season. It's at home to Fulham tomorrow night. Might he have to start in the false 9 position again, though.
Yeah, it does seem like a possibility, doesn't it? Obviously, we've got the injury to Rasmus Højlund, Man United without him at the moment. He's suffered that hamstring injury during pre-season. Joshua Zirkzee hasn't yet been used. He was an unused substitute in the Community Shield. We saw Bruno Fernandes used in that role again in that game. So yeah, it does seem like an option for Erik ten Hag. I suppose he could move Marcus Rashford into the middle potentially, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Bruno in that role again.
Ahead of the new season, I mean, United, they've got an abundance of wingers. You're tipping one man to have a breakthrough season, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I think it could potentially be a big season for Ahmad Diallo. You know, he obviously came into the team in the kind of second half of last season, or the final few weeks of last season even, and really made a positive impact. And you know, we can see his impact in these numbers here. You know, so remember Diallo only played sort of 400 minutes, so it is a small sample size when we talk about his numbers. But yeah, some impressive numbers for shots. Okay, he's lowest on that front. Garnacho, Anthony, Rashford, they all averaged more shots per 90 minutes, but you look further down these numbers, goal involvements, Ahmad Diallo's number 0.46 there for goal involvements per 90 minutes. That shows how productive he was. And then the chances, you know, chances created 2.32 for Ahmad Diallo, which puts him well ahead of the other three. So that creative element is something he brings. And dribbles as well, you know, he can beat his man. We know that all these three players can beat a man, but his numbers do stack up well, don't they, in comparison to the other three. And yeah, just a reminder that his minutes are obviously low last season. He only came in the last weeks of the season, so it is a small sample, but it shows how effective he was and how he could potentially kick on after a good pre-season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Another big issue in the coming weeks. Let's focus on this left-back position. There's Luke Shaw ruled out until after the international break. This is due to a calf problem. Who will play there now?
Yeah, it's a familiar problem for Man United, isn't it? Luke Shaw, such an important player for them, but another injury, this time to his calf. So yeah, we see some of the potential alternatives for Manchester United here. Diogo Dalot has played a lot at left back, as we can see here, 1,826 minutes played at left back since the start of the 2022-23 season. That's almost a quarter of his minutes, so he is familiar with the role, so he could fill in there, move over from right back. But then we've got the new guy, Mazraoui, so he's come in obviously from Bayern Munich. He's predominantly a right back, but he has played quite a decent amount of time at left back over the last couple of seasons, as we can see here. 15% of his minutes have been at left back, so he's an option. You could have him at left back potentially and keep Dalot at right back. And then the other option, of course, is Lisandro Martinez, who played at left back as a kind of makeshift left back in the Community Shield. Obviously, that was a bit of a one-off, but he acquitted himself pretty well. It's just a question of whether Man United think he's too important to move from centre back when the season starts. Maybe it'll be one of these guys who gets the nod there.
Let's talk about who they're going to come up against. Fulham. I mean, they broke their record signing. They brought in Emil Smith-Rowe. How come do you think it didn't quite work out for him at Arsenal? And what does he need to do to make sure that it does work out for him at Fulham?
Well, I think he was unfortunate with injuries. You know, he had to have surgery on a long-standing groin problem, which caused him to miss a good chunk of time. When he came back, it was hard for him to get back in the team. He seemed to have slipped down Mikel Arteta's pecking order. I mean, we can see, you know, this kind of gives us an idea of how his opportunities dried up, really. So his breakthrough season, that 2020-21 season, he ended up playing, you know, 42% of Arsenal's Premier League minutes. He was heavily involved in the second half of that season, made a real big impact, a really positive impact. The following season, the number went up. He played close to 2,000 minutes, a higher percentage of their Premier League minutes. But it was after that that the opportunities started to go and injuries started to be a problem. And yeah, we saw the minutes he played really reduce, and it was obviously a sad loss to Arsenal. Such a popular player there and made such a big impact. But I think the move to Fulham made sense. I think the question for Fulham now is can he regain the form he showed earlier in his Arsenal career when he was so good, when he got into the England squad? And we see here.
Do you think Fulham might cause a bit of an upset against United?
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's not the opening fixture they would have liked, probably, but a Iwobi goal, so maybe that'll give them some belief. Smith-Rowe's come in, looks exciting, looks an exciting addition. So, no, they'll go there with some belief for sure, I think.
Yeah, well, there you go. You can see how United and Fulham get on. It is the first game of the season, live from Old Trafford tomorrow night, kicking off at 8 p.m. Our coverage starts at 6:30 on Sky Sports Premier League.
Manchester United makes key decisions as Erik ten Hag provides crucial injury update on Luke Shaw. As Manchester United prepares for their Premier League opener against Fulham at Old Trafford, 3 new signings could make their much-anticipated debuts. The recent acquisitions of Matthijs de Ligt and Noussair Mazraoui from Bayern Munich in a £60 million deal have bolstered United's defence, and both players are set to be included in the squad for the season's first match. The club faces significant challenges with injuries, particularly in defence. Left-back Luke Shaw is sidelined with a calf injury until September, while fellow left-back Tyrell Malacia is out until October with a knee issue. Additionally, defender Lenny Yoro is expected to be out until at least late October due to a metatarsal fracture. To compound matters, Victor Lindelof has been absent from training since United returned from their pre-season tour in the United States, and Rasmus Højlund is also out with a hamstring injury until September. United manager Erik ten Hag has refrained from revealing whether any additional injuries have occurred since last week's Community Shield draw with Manchester City. There are issues, but it's not about the players who aren't available, it's about those who are, ten Hag stated confidently. We have a strong group, we can field a solid lineup, and that's exactly what we'll do. Ten Hag confirmed that de Ligt and Mazraoui will both be in the squad, alongside Harry Maguire. He also reassured fans that Shaw's absence would be brief. Although Shaw has been out since February 18th, he managed to feature for England in the European Championship before suffering his current injury. I think he'll be back in the short term, it won't be long, ten Hag clarified. We're eager to have him back because Luke Shaw is crucial to our team. But we can't rush this process. As United enters the new season, the squad is a mix of players who participated in the pre-season tour of the US and others who were involved in the later stages of the European Championship and Copa America. Mazraoui did not participate in international duties over the summer, and de Ligt didn't play a single minute for the Netherlands during their Euro campaign. Meanwhile, Joshua Zirkzee, who arrived from Bologna in a £36.5 million deal last month, is yet to make his debut. Ten Hag acknowledged that the pre-season had been disrupted by international tournaments. No, it's true, this wasn't the ideal pre-season where you have 5 or 6 weeks to work on the team, Ten Hag admitted. It's been very complicated. But we had the squad from the US Tour, added players from the Euros and Copa America, and now we've brought in new signings. We have to build a team from that. The squad isn't fully ready, but the league starts now. Many managers face this challenge, and we certainly have to deal with it. But we have our principles, our targets, and we're on the right track. We've already won 2 trophies, we know our playing style, and now we have to integrate the new players to enhance that model and elevate the team's level. My expectations are always high, and our aim is to compete for trophies.